really quickly before we begin, thanks so much for all the support I got on Reddit for the last painting, and to all the people who asked for prints. And with that I mean these two people. I finally uploaded the prints, so go check it out. Thanks. Alright, let's check out what I've been up to. So I don't really know what to think of this painting after I've done it. I think I finished it yesterday or the day before. And I'm not really sure, to be honest. I guess time will tell. I definitely learned a few things here and there of what I want to repeat, got some ideas, so that's always great. I started by putting down the sketch and just filling in the colors, trying the blocks out, the shades, but because I wanted to go with a bluish skin tone again, like in my last painting, but push it a little bit in a different direction here and there and see where it leaves me. I always had this feeling I had these feelings sometimes while I painted that I was using too small of a brush. And I do think in the end result it will show. I sometimes swap to a bigger one, but I just didn't really feel comfortable in this one using a bigger one. So I stuck to a smaller one that just felt too small in a way. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I'm just not really sure what I'm thinking of this painting. I'm defining the first layer of skin tones here and working my way towards the neck. I'm still thinking about how I want to portray clothing, because I've been working on clothing and skin, and I just like the contrast of having skin and clothing. I mean, not necessarily in a traditional sense. I think you've seen that probably in my other videos. So yeah, in the last painting I did a quite strong contrast between trying to leave the space empty, and with this one I just, even though I liked the last one and I definitely will keep that in mind going further from this point, but I wanted to turn it around as well, because in the last one I had the t-shirt being sort of in a negative shape because it was connected to the background, and in this one I wanted to end up with the jacket in a very thick coat of paint to give it texture and to make it feel heavy when you look at it. I didn't push the feeling of heaviness too far. I just wanted to have that the jacket has a body. So what you see me doing here is I covered the jacket in a red, and this is just a underpainting because I wanted to have the red shine through the next layer. You'll see once we get along with this, so not much of that red will show. An issue with that I realized was that the point of reference was completely off then while I painted it, because preferably I would like to have the jacket already in the color that I wanted it before I define the body to make the body match. But with this process I realized I'm just stuck in a way, and I feel like this is as well one of the reasons that I'm not really sure what I think of this painting or this process. And I think the way I worked on this one definitely needs to be adjusted, because even though I think I got a little bit lucky in the end with the skin tone still matching that yellow coat of paint that I then eventually put on, I didn't have to, because I just didn't have a reference point, right? I'm like next to the skin is now a dark red, And as you might know, the colors really depend on what's next to them. They always work as a composition in a whole. They don't really work by themselves. So yeah, I'm still working on the skin, trying to figure out the shapes and the shadows and the lights. And I think at this point you really can see how the texture of the small brush is really prominent in a way. But it's not big blocks of paint, but more you can see how the brush works its way in a way of how I cover most of the spaces. I think in some parts I really like it, the way the small brush makes the paint look like it's put on very roughly. So yeah, I'm still adjusting the lighting and adding here and there a few brush strokes, giving it a feeling of texture as well. But definitely not too much. I didn't want to go crazy on texture on the body. I still wanted to be more connected to the background, which is this blue. So it was supposed to be flat in contrast with that. Yeah, there you see me putting on that thick layer of paint. And as you can see, the dark red still shines a little bit through. And I guess in the finished result, I gotta say, one doesn't really necessarily realize that it's red underneath. You just see dark. I was surprised, to be honest. But I guess it's alright. It's nothing I was necessarily looking to have. I just wanted to have a dark, rich color, which definitely fills that role. A dark red, like a warm sort of feeling in contrast to that yellow. Because I feel like if I left that white, I guess it could have worked. I think a lot of things work. It's just usually it's about the decisions you make, and even if other decisions would have worked fine, it doesn't necessarily mean this one is not working or is a worse decision. So I'm definitely happy with the way that jacket turned out at this point. But I realized that eventually once I'm done with the yellow, I realized that the body seems kind of floating. Like the way that the arm is cut out of the body. It just wasn't really pleasing to look at, and it felt unfinished. And I'm not sure if I took it too far in the finished result. Maybe I did. I think this just needs a little bit more time for me to pass until my mind has recovered in a way, or has cleansed itself from looking at this painting to look at it again with fresh eyes. Because even though it's one day, like one day passed already since I've finished painting it, I still feel like I'm too close to it to really look at it again. So I guess I'm just gonna have to put it to the side and eventually look at it again and see what I still can learn from it after weeks have passed. So yeah, I think there you can start seeing what I was talking about the floating. And then go ahead and take a pastel to put in these defining lines very roughly. I still wanted to have a feeling of a sketch in some way. And even though I like it here because the way it looks clean, I made the decision of adding some brown. I wasn't necessarily too happy with the way the sketch turned out, because in some way I feel like the value of the pastel is too close to the yellow. It just feels like it sinks in. So I ended up with this brown, putting even more paint on that already thick layer to add a little bit of shape to the jacket. And this is definitely where I think I could have stopped, but I kept on going. I don't know what happened there. Because it still looks so clean. And I think I run a little bit into an issue of then getting, it's not too bad. It doesn't get super dirty, but the brown does push that yellow a little bit in a dirty yellow. Which I'm still happy with it. It's just another way it turned out that it could have. I eventually decided to work on the lines a little bit more because they were really not showing. So I took a brown to cover them as well. And I have multiple lines showing. And then I'm almost done here. Just finishing up the shadows and looking to clean up everything that isn't really to my liking. So yeah, I'm not sure what I think of this. We'll see.